in the chat. And if you're calling in, press *3 and an operator will take down your question. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can. Also, if anyone has a healthcare story they'd like to share, please let us know in the chat. And if we have time, we'll mention it during the call tonight. And now to my good friend and someone I have tons of respect for all the amazing work he does in San Francisco and really all across California. Without further ado, I'll introduce you to Brandon Harami.
Hey, Timothy. Hey, this is Mike. Again, we'll go live here in 3 minutes. So let's keep on introducing people, and we'll keep on give a couple minutes for the call to build up.
Okay, great. Yeah, everyone, just go ahead and put your questions in the chat and change your Zoom name. And thank you for joining us this evening. And we're really excited about tonight's event. We'll go ahead and give it some time for people to join the call, and we'll get started here pretty soon. And yeah, feel free to put your questions in that chat, and we'll be getting started any moment now.
I'm sorry, Kara, I'm seeing a technical problem. We don't have any guests in our room yet. Did we screw something up? So we'll be joined here in a couple minutes on the phones with several thousand people, and we'll just get going here in 2 minutes. But we're seeing a slight technical problem with our Zoom room, but we'll get going here in a couple minutes. So Ryan, tell us about Our Revolution Orange County and your work you're doing.
Well, yes, Our Revolution Orange County is pretty soon here. We're actually working on a petition for the PRO Act. The PRO Act for actually we're going to hand deliver it to one of our local congressmen and get an action going to get as much support as we possibly can for this act. It's super important for workers. So yeah, we're working on that right now, and also doing a lot of work with the California Democratic Party chair's race. Really looking to try and make some change there, and there's a lot of different positions such as vice chair and other regions, and we're looking to try and really keep working to transform the California Democratic Party and get as many progressive activists in there as possible to really make some solid change.
Again, I think we're having some Zoom room difficulties, so we'll go live here in just 1 minute for everybody on the phones, and then we'll get going. Welcome to tonight's Our Revolution's call. And Brandon, why don't you take it away?
Great. Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you so much, Tim, for that marvelous introduction. It is always a pleasure to be joined by such amazing activists from across the state. Folks, my name is Brandon Harami. I am with the San Francisco Berniecrats here in beautiful San Francisco in the Bay Area. And I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Shawnee Badger, down in Los Angeles County. Hi, Shawnee.
Hi, Brandon. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. Hi, everyone. I'm Shawnee. I'm in the almost as beautiful Santa Clarita area. I'm the leader of Our Revolution Santa Clarita Valley. And we want to welcome you to our California monthly meeting. We meet on the first Thursday of every month for our monthly mass meeting. So make sure that you mark your calendars because our next call is going to be scheduled for April 1st. Also tonight, you will be hearing about the Our Revolution membership drive. This is very important. Our Revolution was started nearly 5 years ago, right after the Bernie 2016 campaign ended. And we are going to continue to build a mass movement together to fight for a truly progressive California. Tonight's call is going to focus on CalCare, our single-payer statewide bill, also known as AB 1400. We have Ash Kalra and Miguel Santiago here they're going to be joining us tonight. They are the authors of the bill. And we also have Ryan Skolnick from the California Nurses Association.
Brilliant. We are also going to be hearing from our friend and colleague, Amar Shergill, who is the chair of the California Democratic Party Progressive Caucus. We'll be talking a little bit about what's going on in the party, including the upcoming virtual convention, caucus elections, and the elections of our California Democratic Party officers. But before we dive into that, I'm going to hand it over to Our Revolution HQ and hear about what is going on across the country in the Our Revolution universe. Mike, you there?
Hey, Brandon and Shawnee, how's it going tonight? This is Mike Golis. with Our Revolution headquarters. And if you're on the phones, thank you for joining us tonight. We have an awesome call coming up. And this past month has been awesome with Our Revolution. 2021, they said it was could be an off year. Our Revolution is out organizing like crazy. And tonight's call is going to be really important because we're talking about how we keep growing the Bernie movement in 2021 and beyond. And we have launched a awesome membership campaign. So tonight, we want to focus on, as a national team, how we grow our movement through monthly donations. We've asked our members who've become donors over the last months why they decided to join Our Revolution. And I want to start with number one. Number one, people have joined Our Revolution because, as Eric D. in Denver says, he wants to bend the arc toward justice through Medicare for All, the Green New Deal, and eliminating student debt. So that's Eric. Christy, what do we got for number two?
Yeah, number two, Mike, Mary, and in Chicago said, I'm a member because Our Revolution is working to elect good people in local races around the country. That's an awesome reason to join. In 2020, Our Revolution members helped 74% of our progressive champions win their races. 88% of those wins were down ballot contests. And in 2021, we're helping to elect progressive candidates up and down the ballot. And if you're read our weekly newsletter or follow us on Facebook, we've already scored some major victories this year already. Number three, Mike?
Yeah, number three. Again, everybody, thank you for joining us today. We are having some technical difficulties in our Zoom room, so we're going to try to get that figured out. So if you're watching it on Facebook, please let us know how it's going. Something got a little haywire. But number three, why people have joined Our Revolution is that they signed up because they want to build a progressive Democratic Party. And that's what Michael in Portland had to say. And since January, we have helped make the party more progressive in California, Colorado, Maine, Florida, and Michigan. And tonight we're here from Amr Shergill about what's going on with the California Democratic Party and how we're making it more progressive.
That's right, Mike. And reason number four, I'm a sustaining member because Our Revolution from the ground up, organizing is key to keeping our movement going. That's Carlos M. from New York City. Our Revolution is focused on keeping our movement going by investing in building strong local and state groups and recruiting regional and local organizers to support the work of our army of volunteers, state by state, all across the nation.
And again, welcome to everybody who's listening online. We're going to go here in just a second to talk about the fight for healthcare in California, universal healthcare. And Robin in Ukiah, California, we asked her, why do you support Our Revolution? And she said, Our Revolution is one of the most effective organizations out there fighting for justice. And that's why Robin here in California joined Our Revolution. And Our Revolution is working hard across the country to elect criminal justice reform champions like, our hero Chesa Bodine in San Francisco, Jose Garza in Texas, Monique Wowell in Florida. We're pushing the progressive public policy on criminal justice reform across the country. Illinois just ended cash bail at the state level. We've worked to divest private prisons. We're decriminalizing marijuana. Our revolution groups are doing amazing work across the country. And Christy, you're in Texas. You've been organizing extremely hard with Our Revolution. Why should people become a member and how can people join right now?
So first off, we're about business. We want to be the change and we want to organize for change. We're not just talking about it. We want to be about it. So Our Revolution doesn't rely or take any corporate money. We're entirely people powered and we rely on supporters to help us make this organization a success. When you become an official member of Our Revolution and invest in the movement building at the grassroots level, you help us prepare for future fights. So people always wonder, well, why should I be a continuing donor? And that's because when we give monthly, we're better able to prepare for future organizing through the year rather than just on, one-time donations. So when you become an official member this month, you'll get a Movement Builder card. Movement Builder members will be entered automatically for a chance to have lunch over Zoom with our Revolution chair, none other than Larry Cohen. So many of you may have heard of Larry Cohen. He's a great organizer. He's done work with CWA. Larry is fantastic. So if you become a member this month, you'll be entered in that chance to have lunch with him. Back to you, Brandon.
Great. Thank you so much, Christy. And thank you so much, Mike. I have been a $5 a month member since our revolution was founded on August 24th, which is also my birthday. So it's always exciting to have the same birthday as our revolution and give them that $5 a month so we can fight for really important things. And we share really important beliefs like healthcare is a human right. And this is why we are organizing here in California around the new CalCare bill that was just introduced. So even after the Affordable Care Act passed, nearly 3 million Californians have no health insurance, despite us being the 5th largest economy in the world. Millions more have insurance they can't afford to use because their copays and deductibles are too high. Been there. 2/3 of the bankruptcies in this country are tied to medical debt, and medical-related bankruptcies are an all-time high. And meanwhile, for-profit insurance companies and healthcare systems are reporting record-breaking profits despite us being in a global pandemic. And that global pandemic has shown that employment-based healthcare does not work.
Yeah, that's so true, Brandon. I know, because for me personally, like I went through most of my adult life without health insurance, but there's a solution called CalCares that would put California in the lead in guaranteeing affordable and accessible healthcare. And our first guest is going to tell us about it. And while we're hearing from Representative Kalra, if anyone has a healthcare story that they'd like to share or a personal experience with our broken system and how CalCare could help, please drop a brief description of it in the chat, and we'll make sure to try and mention it during the call tonight.
Great. Thank you, Shani. And I'm super excited to introduce our first guest, who is Assemblymember Ash Kalra, who is representing the 27th District of California, which includes parts of San Jose, including downtown San Jose. Last month, we were also excited to see he introduce Assembly Bill 1400, the California Guaranteed Healthcare for All Act, also known as CalCare, which would guarantee comprehensive, high-quality healthcare to all Californians as a human right. And Assemblymember Ash Kalra, we are so excited to hear a little bit more about AB 1400 and a little bit more about what it does. Just want to check in to see if you're unmuted and ready to talk about single-payer healthcare.
Well, Brandon, thank you so much. Shani, thank you so much. You're both dear friends of mine that are always fighting for what's right. And so it's great to be here with the both of you, as well as Our Revolution, the Our Revolution California family, and everyone else that's tuning in and listening. I'm very proud to have introduced AB 1400. And AB 1400 is, once again, another effort for us to try to push forward single payer here in California. I know that Ryan Skolnick, who has great expertise in this area, will also be speaking to some of the details. But generally speaking, it is a system where you won't have to worry about having to pay for copays and deductibles. You won't have to worry about whether your insurance company is going to approve, even if your doctor recommends something, which is insane to me, that sometimes, even though there's a doctor recommendation for a certain procedure, that you still have to get approval from the insurance company. We want to join so many other countries in the world that take that headache away from their residents, right? I mean, so many people, as you indicated, Brandon, are suffering. They're dying. They don't have health care. So many unhoused people I talk to, unhoused neighbors here in San Jose, when I ask about their story and they're willing to share, oftentimes their journey towards being unhoused started with medical issues they personally had or a family member had, bills that racked up, and they couldn't keep up. That is not the sign of a great country. It's not the sign of a country that takes care of one another. And so CalCare is an opportunity for us to once again make it very clear that we care about everyone's humanity, that we care about everyone's health, and that a system that we currently have, as some of you may be seeing in the tweet that's posted here, I get the first question we get is, how are you going to pay for it? Well, yes, there are estimates that it could cost as much as $400 billion a year, but our current system in California costs an estimated $450 billion a year, and that's with millions going without insurance, millions going bankrupt. And so we have an imperfect system, employer-based system, multi-payer system that is just simply just not working. And I think if you look at any reputable study or analysis, everyone will tell you that our system here in America in general is one that has been really catered towards commodifying each and every one of us as really vehicles for profit for a system that does not lead with humanity and with care and compassion. And so CalCare will allow the opportunity to have all of your medical needs, including dental, vision, even long-term care, which is a huge burden on our state that people do not have coverage for. And a lot of seniors go into poverty, or their family members have to spend a lot of money just to take care of them in their final years. And so ultimately, we want to make sure that all the different funding systems we currently have, including over $200 billion in public money, in federal and state money, as well as the over 100 to 150 billion in private, the employer money that goes to pay for healthcare for their workers. I'll tell you what, CalCare will be great for small businesses and big businesses alike, because a big part of what they pay out to their employees is healthcare. If we can capture those resources, as long as the public resources, and put them into one fund and allow that one fund to compete with the buying power of 40 million Californians on pharmaceuticals, with the leverage in terms of controlling healthcare costs. And CalCare does have cost containment measures in it as well. And so we have the opportunity to create a system we can be proud of. I want the money that we pay for healthcare to go to our care and to go to the doctors and nurses and others that are caring for us. And so this is not something where I don't think nurses and doctors and others that are providing services shouldn't be compensated. They should. I have no problem with that. The problem is that there's such a huge amount, to the tune of billions upon billions of dollars, that are going somewhere else besides our care to profit a system, a hospital system and an insurance system that isn't focused solely on our health and well-being. And so I'm very excited about introducing it. And it's obviously going to be an uphill battle, but I will tell you this, that I approach this with love in my heart. This is a campaign and an effort that needs to be led with loving compassion and commitment, which needs to be above board, because whenever there's any kind of negativity as it applies to a movement like this, that gets the attention and we focus away from the policy. I want the focus to be on the policy, on how this policy is the one that I believe can really lift so many out of poverty, that can lift so many spirits up, and can help in terms of improving our health. And let's keep in mind, especially now as we're looking at how this pandemic has ravaged us, the pandemic has not created inequities, it's exposed long-standing inequities and exacerbated them, particularly in regards to healthcare. We see it. I mean, it's so blatant right now. In fact, from June 2019 to June 2020, Black life expectancy went down 2.7 years in this country. Latino life expectancy went down 1.9 years. Yes, did a pandemic hit us? And does that count for the first few months of the pandemic? Absolutely, absolutely. But why are those communities the ones suffering the most? Some might say, well, they have underlying conditions. Well, why do they have underlying conditions? We can't just allow these surface answers and these presumptions to be acceptable. We have to say, no, enough is enough. It's not acceptable that we have the most expensive system by far in the world, yet our outcomes are nowhere near the top. Our life expectancy is 46 in the world. And clearly, we are not doing enough to have preventative care for our community and to make sure that people are taken care of. So I'm excited about this. I think there's a great opportunity for us to show where California's values lie. I have a lot of colleagues that have a lot of great questions about it. They may not be there yet, but look, our job is to convince folks based upon the policy and the compassion behind the policy. It is a good policy. It is going to save money. It is one that's going to lift and care for everyone in our state. And so I ask everyone to approach those, and we have there's 20 of us now on the bill in the Assembly and Senate, which is fantastic, including joint authors Alex Lee and Miguel Santiago. So we have a great start. But there are a lot of my colleagues with very good questions and concerns, and I'm with open doors and open arms gonna try to answer all of them to the best that I can. And I ask all of you to do the same in a loving movement to try to win hearts and minds over. And I really believe that we as Californians can lead the nation in making this happen.
Great. And I believe so as well, Assemblymember. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's kill them with kindness and get this bill through, which we're really excited about. You know, as our revolution, we are so excited to tonight. Big surprise! We are formally endorsing the CalCare, the Guaranteed Healthcare for All in California, AB 1400 this evening. It shouldn't surprise anyone that that our revolution is on board, but. And we're also organizing around this. So we do have a really easy to use link that we are dropping into the chat that we will distribute out to the folks who were not able to get into Zoom. Technical difficulties are also great. What this link will do is you'll be able to put your information in and it'll automatically send a letter to your representative asking them to support the CalCare. So we will be organizing, and we're going to be hearing a little bit about organizing on this bill. So thank you so much, Assemblymember, for joining us this evening and discussing this important bill.
Thank you so much. Give me the opportunity. Thank you for caring enough to support it. Thank you for the endorsement. You know, last time I came on our revolution call, you endorsed my assembly campaign. So I love coming on these calls. Thank you so much. I'm gonna hang out with y'all more often.
Yeah, we'll try to keep the good news as the only thing. If there's bad news, we won't invite you.
Sounds good to me.
Great, and we did want to take a moment. I know there's only a handful of folks that were able to make it in, but Jake, do we have any stories, healthcare stories in the chat that we want to read out?
I'm not seeing any yet.
No worries. I think maybe Assemblymember, real quick, if you can, in maybe two or 3 minutes, would you be willing to discuss how Javier Becerra's potential vote and appointment to be our Health and Human Services? Could you talk a little bit about how that is really important to making CalCare work as well?
Absolutely. You know, and I always say healthcare is a human right, and right now we're denying it to millions. And so the urgency is now. But then folks will say to me, why didn't you introduce it last year, year before? Well, Trump was in office, and we were trying to Trump was trying to dismantle the ACA. And you know, I think all of us can recognize that with Trump there was no way we could get anything done. Now, with President Biden, now with the opportunity to have Javier Becerra, who's been on the record in support of single payer in HHS, we have an opportunity to reopen that dialogue with our federal government. We know that we're going to need waivers in order to allow the Medicare dollars and other federal funding that comes in, the CHIP program and other kinds of programs, to be able to, again, to consolidate those funds. Having Becerra in his position and with the authority and the ability to be able to see through those waivers is huge for us. It's huge for us here in California. It is a game changer. I mean, frankly, having Biden and having Democrats back in power in the White House is in itself motivation enough for me to have introduced the bill, because now we have an opportunity. Now, does that mean that we're not going to put pressure and convince folks? And no, of course. But we know with Republicans in charge, it's a non-starter day one, at least with Democrats like President Biden in the White House. But of course, our Attorney General, Javier Becerra, going to DC as a cabinet secretary in Health and Human Services is huge. And so there's no doubt we'll take advantage of the relationships that we have in DC, and that'll be a huge one for us to really try to convince the federal government to allow us the opportunity to move forward with a single payer program that works for us.
Great, thank you. And I know it gets a little wonky there, but it's always fun to talk about single payer policy. So I appreciate it, and appreciate you for coming on to this evening, Assemblymember.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And Brandon,
yeah, Brandon, we got some. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Jake.
I was gonna say we got some stories coming in. If you wanted to go over some of them.
Yeah, if you want to just read off maybe one or two stories, and then we'll continue on. I would love to hear a little bit about how CalCare is so important.
Yeah, this one's from Linda Ann McDonald -Cash. My mother died in a local hospital due to negligent healthcare. She was on disability and Medicare. She was only 63 years old and went into gallstone. She never came out again. She received substandard care, I believe, due to her inability to procure a good and competent doctor for herself. Only the worst take on the Medicare and disability patients. I nearly lost my Cobra mind. I nearly lost my mind when my COBRA ran out during the pandemic. Finally got a job and then couldn't afford the deductible and co-insurance. So until I lost the job and got covered with subsidy. But now, as soon as my freelance biz starts making money again, I won't be able to afford it without the subsidy. It's insane. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, these stories are always hard to hear, but it is always a really important reminder of what not me, us means, right? When we talk about, standing up for one another. I recognize and see so many Californians who are not only fighting for healthcare for the people who don't have it, but I see you out there fighting for $15 minimum wage, for other folks living in other states that aren't as lucky as us to actually have our wages increase. So, these are great reminders, and I really appreciate that, Jake. All right, Mike, we're going to move right along. All right, I'm going to move right along. So let's talk about how we're going to organize around Medicare for all. So continuing on with this important subject, I want to welcome our next speaker, who is a friend I've known for quite a long time, Ryan Skolnick, who's a distributed organizer for CalCare, who works at the California Nurses Association here in California. Ryan, are you unmuted and ready to discuss how we can make single payer happen?
I am, and I want to start by saying thank you to Brandon and Shawnee and the rest of the California Our Revolution team for putting this on. This is really a really exciting time, and I also want to thank Ash for being bold and being courageous and introducing what's probably the strongest single payer bill that California has ever seen. So he's done a great job talking about the bill. So I'm going to leave my comments on that to be relatively quick. I mostly want to talk about how we win, because that's what we're focused on. And at the end of the day, we have an amazing bill, and we should be proud of that. This bill was founded on 7 core principles, not just of single payer, but of what it means to guarantee healthcare as a human right. And I want to quickly talk about those 7 core principles. 1, universal coverage. Everybody in, nobody out. 2, a single public program, meaning none of this public option nonsense, none of this letting some profit in the system. No, a single public program that covers all necessary care. 3, fully comprehensive benefits, including dental, vision, hearing, mental health care, long-term services, what healthcare should look like, not the skimpy programs we have right now. 4, freedom to choose your care provider. We have no freedom in our healthcare system now because our insurance companies decide who we can get care from, not us. Under CalCare, you can see any doctor. A just transition for people who are displaced by the switch to CalCare. There'll be a transition fund to help people either go back to school, retire early, replace wages, whatever it takes to make this process go smoothly. Free at the point of service. No premiums, no copays, no deductibles, and no prior authorizations. And then finally, patient care based on patient need. No financial incentives to discourage providers from giving the best care. Their sole obligation is the care of the patient. That's CalCare, and that's Assembly Bill 1400. And we are really thrilled, but at the same time, we know that having the best bill in the world doesn't matter if we don't have the ability to organize to win it. So I want to talk quickly about what the plan is to do that. In short, we are going to make sure that there is positive high road pressure in all 80 assembly districts and all 40 Senate districts to get this through. And we're going to do that in a few different ways. Unfortunately, for those of you who were around during SB 562, you'll know that one of our main strategies was canvassing. Unfortunately, that's not an option for us right now due to the pandemic and the need to continue to maintain social distancing. However, we've adjusted, and we have a smorgasbord of tactics that we would like you all to plug into. For the first of those is get ready to join a visit with your legislator. We are doing legislative visits in hopefully all 80 assembly districts, if not most of them, to talk to our reps and let them know why guaranteed healthcare for all is so important. If you live in a health committee district, which is the first place the bill will have to go through, we are bottom lining those ourselves, so you'll have extra help there. But the first plan is a legislative visit. By the way, links to sign up for everything I'm talking about are going to be in a handout that I'm going to give the link for verbally. And I'm also going to put them in the chat for those of you who are here on Zoom. So just to reiterate, the first ask is to get ready to join a legislative visit. The second is to join our texting team. We're going to be texting voters in critical districts, asking them to call their reps and show support for CalCare, either through signing on or through calling for a hearing in the health committee. So that's our second goal, is join our texting team. Third, join our Movement Builders program. We know that it's going to take a massive grassroots movement to win guaranteed healthcare for all in California. And the way we build it in a time where we can't go door to door is we rely on our personal networks, take people who may support guaranteed healthcare for all, but aren't actually doing much to make it happen, and turning them into activists. That's what the Movement Builders program is all about. Next, join our Medicare Para Todos texting program. We are texting Spanish speakers throughout the state of California and talking about guaranteed healthcare for all and trying to get them more involved in the fight to pass Medicare for all as well. Then, on top of that, we're doing, this is something I'm really fond of because it's really cool. It's an art program where we are asking artists, poets to submit to create work that is CalCare themed and get that and submit that to us. We're going to we have an entire art program that we're really excited to unveil. Then we have two more things. I know this is a lot, and again, there's going to be links to all of this. One, the second to last thing, is to join our interest meeting for organizations. We want your organization to endorse CalCare and end up in the committee analysis as an official supporting organization, and you do that by submitting a letter of support to the legislature. So we're going to have a training for how best to get your organization on board with the bill. And then finally, we have a resolutions training for those who want to get a city council resolution in support of CalCare through your city councils. So we are doing a training for that on March 11th. So we encourage you all to sign up for that and to help push that through as well. And the links to sign up for all of these things, as well as links to fact sheets about the bill and a bunch of other things that you could use, can all be found at the link bit.ly/CalCare handout. I'm going to repeat it twice more because I know a lot of you are dialed in right now. bit.ly/CalCare handout. bit.ly/CalCare handout. And that's going to have links to sign up for all of the things I just talked about. So to wrap this up, we know that there's an uphill fight ahead of us, and we know that there are millions, if not billions of dollars lined up to defeat us from the for-profit insurance companies that would be wiped out if CalCare were to be passed. But we know that at the end of the day, we have the power of the people. And if we can mobilize it in the right way, no amount of money can stop us. So thank you all for having me, and I'm really excited to be organizing with you as we move on in the fight for healthcare justice.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. So exciting to hear about all the work that you're doing with the Nurses Association, and my jaw just dropped when I heard art program. So that's really exciting. So definitely everybody, I love the intersection of art and artivism. Let's make it a thing. So now I did want to ask, I don't know, it's next on here. Is there any stories that we should share in the chat? Any healthcare stories before we make our transition?
Yeah, there's another one that came in from Jackie Taryn Rank. My husband was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate and bone cancer. One of his main medications is a shot that costs $7,800. Ooh. Even after the insurance, our copay is about $2,800. That's not even really insurance, is it? We max out after $5,800 in copays, and this is with good insurance. No one should have to pay this type of ridiculous rate for one shot. No one should have to pay these ridiculous rates. Amen, Jackie.
Yeah, amen. Gosh. Yeah, we definitely need this bill to pass. And I'm so grateful to Ryan, the nurses, and to our revolution for all of this great work that we're going to do to pass this. I wanted to transition now. We want to talk about some of the important work that's happening to make the Democratic Party more progressive, which would help us to win more issue fights like CalCare and many other priorities. So our next speaker that I wanted to introduce, who is amazing and a dear friend who I love so much, Amar Shergill, who is the chair of the California Democratic Party Progressive Caucus.
Hey, everybody, and thank you, Shawnee, for the warm welcome. It's always a pleasure to be in a space with you and around Skolnick and Brandon Harami. Just my ride or dies, and I love talking about progressive politics with all of you. And yeah, we're going to change the subject a little bit, but I just want to finish up or touch on the CalCare discussion just a little bit. And I know that, Ash, Assemblymember Caller, has been positive talking about, how we're going to get it done. But I just wanted to say a word about his bravery. I mean, we all worked hard to get him elected, and he's put in the effort. We've organized with him, but it takes guts to go up against one of the toughest, most influential, powerful lobbies in the nation. We know that CalCare represents a massive decrease in human suffering, and that it is just simply one of the most important policies that California can pass. But kudos to Assemblymember Kalra and our revolution for making this a priority, because it does take political capital. And I just appreciate the heck out of you and everyone in our revolution for doing that work. So thank you. I'm glad that we got more folks into the Zoom. For you folks listening on phone, I'm sorry you don't get to enjoy seeing this very handsome hoodie I've got on right now. It talks about Kisaans, and that's mentioning farmers. There is the world's largest protest movement happening right now in India. So go on Twitter and look up farmers protests if you want to learn more. But, so let's talk about the California Democratic Party. And I'll give you a moment to boo and hiss. But when you're done with that, I'm the chair of the Progressive Caucus, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how, your involvement and our revolution have helped change the game. You probably heard about, some of you are candidates and many of you are voters in recent delegate elections to elect folks that end up being about a third of the delegates to the party, and those delegates control who the party endorses, who the party elects as chair, and our policy platforms and resolutions. And, yes, it was a difficult election because of COVID, all virtual. But there are also a lot of problems that were avoidable. And what ended up happening at the tail end of that election is, as we approached the deadline, it was obvious that there were a lot of ballots, thousands of ballots that were going to come in late because of postal delays, because of party delays and mismanagement. And our chair, Rusty Hicks, made the really inconceivable decision not to count the votes. He had the power to just say, okay, we're going to count these votes. If they're postmarked by the deadline, we'll count them. But he decided not to. And a couple of years ago, that would have been the end of it. The party chair rules it all, and we all go home. Too bad your vote's not counted. But what happened this time is that we had enough folks in the executive board that we were able to rally them, do a petition, and set a special meeting to reverse Chair Hicks' decision. And as soon as that became obvious that we were in fact going to call him on the carpet and reverse it, a compliance review committee actually did the work for us. They reversed the decision and counted the votes. And, it's 1,500 votes all across the state, but it means something to us because we develop relationships with our voters, with the people that we ask to be engaged. And when they don't get their votes counted, that hurts our activism on all issues, whether it's CalCare or others. So I really wanted to thank everybody tonight that, tweeted, that talked to folks in the party, that talked to executive board members, that stood up for delegate elections, that got voters out, that voted themselves, because this is how we change the party. It is tough work, but we get involved and we get in the trenches, and folks like Shawnee and Ryan and Brandon and Ash and others, thank you so much for doing that. It makes all the world of difference. And continuing on that theme, there's a couple of things coming up. Delegates are going to be voting for who leads the party. And I talked about Chair Hicks. Another unfortunate decision for him is, he signed a pledge not to take fossil fuel money. And he accepted a recommendation from the delegates of the party not to take fossil fuel money. And then what did he do during this election? Took $330,000 of fossil fuel money, directly going to those that are obstacles to the fight for, the future habitability of our planet. So, we have some questioners going out, and I know Our Revolution is going through their endorsement process, and so is the caucus and myself. But we have a really good candidate, Delane Easton, who's running, who's committed to our issues and is progressive. And I really hope that you all will engage with her, talk to delegates in your area about the problems with Rusty Hicks, and really engaging on behalf of Delane Easton. And finally, if I still have a few minutes, I'm going to touch on one really important thing. And this goes to federal politics with a California connection. We know that Senator Feinstein has been a problem on a number of issues, but I wanted to talk to you about one where she hasn't yet formally stated a position, and I think we can make a difference in Our Revolution, and all of you certainly can. Many of you may have heard that the House has passed H.R. 1, which is a bill that can fundamentally change how voting occurs across the country to fix gerrymandering, to get public financing, a number of other issues which make it easier for folks to vote, stops voter suppression, that in turn helps us elect Democrats, and stops what are now hundreds of bills in state houses across the country specifically designed to keep people from voting. That's the only way the GOP can win right now. And H.R. 1 is passed out of the House going to the Senate, and that's where Senator Feinstein comes in, and you all. One, we wanted to support the bill, and I think that's going to happen. But we don't have 60 votes. So it's going to take killing the filibuster, at least for that bill, if nothing else. And this is a game changer because it's a bill that makes everything else easier. Think about an issue that you care about. You haven't been able to get folks elected. If you haven't been able to get a bill passed, this is a bill which helps us elect people in every state to get all of our issues supported. So take time, and this is the call to action, take time to tweet at Senator Feinstein. She has not yet voiced an opinion on the filibuster. We are thankful that Senator Padilla has in California, but Senator Feinstein hasn't. And we need your help. Look for those action calls, or take it upon yourself to reach out on Twitter to Senator Feinstein. We need a helping hand on this one, and this is on deck right now. Thank you again, everybody, for being here tonight. For those of you on video, one last chance to enjoy the hoodie. Everybody else, have a good evening. All the best.
Thank you so much, Umar. And I wanted to also plug, I'm going to put it in the chat for those of you who are on Zoom, the California Democratic Party Progressive Caucus meeting, which will be on March 28th at 10 a.m. on Zoom. And there's a link to register right there in the chat, and I'm sure it will be posted for anyone listening on Facebook as well. And also, Delane Easton, who was mentioned, who's running for chair of the California Democratic Party, will be a guest at Our Revolution's Monday Organize to Win call on March 15th, which you can RSVP for as well. That link is also in the chat. And we hope to see you there. And do we have any questions in the chat? And maybe if not, we can do one more plug for the membership drive, if anybody.
Hey, Shawnee, I'll take over for the membership drive conversation real quick. Again, everybody, welcome to tonight's call. If you made it into this Zoom room, you are checking your email. We had a screw up with our Zoom link tonight, and so thank you for sticking with us and showing up. We have a nice crowd that's assembled tonight, and thank you for joining us despite the broken link. So Our Revolution right now is in the middle of a really important membership drive, right? Our Revolution has been active now. This will be our 5th year this summer. So we've, came out of the Bernie 2016 campaign. We are there for the Bernie 2020 fight. And here in this moment where Bernie is the chairman, we are building a mass movement across the country, in California, New York, every place in between, right? We're building a movement to keep the Bernie movement alive, organized, and deeply connected to each other locally, statewide, and nationally. So please become a member tonight. I'm going to put the link in right now. This membership is really important. I see some of our members who are already there. You'll get Our Revolution Movement Builder card in the mail once you join, designed by our leader from Our Revolution Nashville. So a little bit of art, a little bit of organizing, but for $5, $10 a month, whatever you can give, we're building a movement that combines, organized money, organized people with an organized plan to win. And so please tonight, if you could, please join Our Revolution, become a monthly donor. I know several monthly donors are already here, so thank you for your support. But let's keep on growing this movement and connect it. Our Revolution California is leading the way, and we want to make sure that we go from 5 years to 10 years, and we just keep on building power and winning. Our Revolution California and the Bernie movement has transformed politics locally, and a big win. What was the day ago last year that Our Revolution California and the Bernie movement got Bernie the big victory in California. So you guys have changed the game in local politics and in state politics. We're doing it nationally. So please become a member of Our Revolution if you can, and it'll make a huge difference. We can send out less fundraising emails and focus strictly on the advocacy and movement building. So Shawnee and Brandon, thank you so much for your help tonight, and thank you to everybody who stuck with us despite our little technical difficulty. And now I think we're going to hear more about CalCare. And back to you, Shawnee.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so I'm so honored to introduce our next speaker, Assemblymember Miguel Santiago, who is a co-author of CalCare. And just to real quick reiterate why CalCare is so important and why we need it. There are nearly 3 million Californians that have no health insurance, and millions more have insurance they can't afford to use because their copays and deductibles are too high. 2/3 of the bankruptcies in this country are tied to medical debt, and medical-related bankruptcies are at an all-time high. Meanwhile, for-profit insurance companies and healthcare systems are reporting record-breaking profits, and COVID has shown us that employment-based healthcare doesn't work. And so I'm so honored to turn it over to the co-author of CalCare, Assemblymember Miguel Santiago. Oh, Miguel, you're muted. Sorry. There we go.
There you go. How are you, Shawnee? How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm really excited to see you. It's been a minute. But listen, we're really excited, and I think you hit it right on the nail. But before we get into that, I want to thank Our Revolution and all the progressives who are on, the Progressive Caucus members, and just everybody who's taken the time to be on tonight, because we're building a movement. And I got to tell you, the work that you did to make sure that Bernie Sanders won California has given us a command in the legislature to begin to talk about policies that otherwise wouldn't have been a debate in the legislature. Look, we've tried some of these in the past, and they've been extremely difficult to get through. But today, because of the movement that you're building, the excitement, the grassroots organization, the continuing advocacy, it's giving us the ability and the might to get things done that weren't possible in the past. So I am extremely grateful. And I do also want to thank you for some of the advocacy. We'll get into that. But today we're talking about single-payer CalCare, probably the most important issue that we're going to take up in the legislature this year. And we feel like with good grounding and partners like yourselves, we've got a really good shot at getting this done. Listen, Shawnee said it the best, and she nailed it. Healthcare should not be for profit. It should be for healing people. And we've got now an opportunity to give healthcare to everyone at zero cost, to give healthcare that actually heals people. And it doesn't matter whether you're undocumented. It doesn't matter whether you're documented. It doesn't matter whether you're a senior or whether you're young or somewhere in between. The ability to have healthcare is absolutely important. It's a human right, the bottom line. Sanders said it the best. It is a human right. And yet today, healthcare is an industry that profits. It's unbelievable. And look, the bill's pretty simple. The bill's absolutely pretty simple. It creates a single payer system that we call CalCare. Simple. It creates a CalCare board that allows us to administer the programs. It puts healthcare providers in check and says, you've got to create a plan, and here's all you could charge, because it's going to be fair and it's going to be about people's health, not about profiteering. And then simply, we've got to go out and get the financing for it. But it's pretty simple 4 steps that we can do to make this a reality. And we're doing this because the fights in the legislature have been incredibly difficult about getting healthcare. And quite frankly, it is essential in a human right. And I know we all know this, but we've got to continue to tell people. And I think that the louder you chant, but I will say we chant with love. We encourage people. We give credit. When somebody says they support it, we clap and we give them praise because we want to bring people along. And I'll tell you why that's important. This movement, I credit to a large degree with Mr. Kalra, who went up before me, and the rest of our colleagues in the legislature, Mr. Chu and others, helped us with public banks. Do you guys remember that? And you got engaged. You got engaged. You tweeted about it. You sent an email out, and that helped to change the tenor in the legislature because now we had grassroots progressive advocacy with their eyes on what we were doing. And it got done. And I'll tell you something about public banks. When we did it, and we're coming back for more, when we did public banks, it's the only bill in the legislature that has gotten through with 0 lobbyists. It was all grassroots advocacy. 0 lobbyists. Ourselves, some of our colleagues, like I mentioned, Mr. Chu, Mr. Kalra, others who joined the movement. At the same time, with the Public Banking Alliance, but the banking system, they lobbied down with incredible amounts of lobbying from incredible amounts of people and money trying to shoot this thing down, and it got done. It got done. And last year, we started a conversation about a millionaires tax, and we're bringing that conversation back because nowhere, in no place in the United States, should we have an inequality of income like we do. And I don't have to convince you folks, but in California, the income inequality is huge. We have people who are living in multi-million-dollar homes with mansions and yachts, and yet on our streets across California, we see people who have to live in tents, and we know that something can be done about this. I think they ought to pay their fair share. We've got over about 165 billionaires in the state of California, and they pay less percentage in taxes than most people on this call. It is outrageous. It is outrageous, the income inequality that we're seeing, and we want to do something about that. But core to income inequality has got to be getting single payer done in California. It has to be. We have to get it done because we have to ensure that healthcare finally becomes that right that we've been fighting for over and over again. And our strategy is going to be very simple. We've got a tremendous amount of movement with a significant amount of co-authors, joint authors that are pushing for this. So I'll tell you what, we're going to go before our first committee of the Health Committee. We are going to put our best policy arguments forth. And I want you folks to join with us in sharing the love for those who are supporting this, because we got to show people that we share love and we get people excited, because there's a lot more of us than there are high-paid executives in the healthcare system. Once we get through there, we're going to have to go through appropriations and then onto the assembly floor. And then we got to do it all over again in the Senate. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to engage every grassroots organization that we can across the state of California, every advocacy groups, the group that we can get. And we're going to engage the Democratic Party. Yes, we're going to engage them. And in Los Angeles, we had Chairman Mark Gonzalez, who led the charge. We were on a phone call one night, Mr. Osh and I, Mr. Gonzalez, and we said, well, we need to get the Democratic Party involved. They passed the first resolution to support the bill, and they called a chair's challenge across the state of California so that every county central committee in California supports this. And then we could move it to the state party. But this is why we want to make it at a local level. We want to make sure that all Democratic clubs are involved. We want to make sure that all advocacy groups are involved. And we're just grateful that our revolution is leading the charge to make sure that this happens, along with the nurses and other advocacy groups across the state of California. We love you, we love you, we love you, and we know we're going to get this done because you guys are going to stand strong with us, help lead the charge, and because we got to get this done. People are depending on us. This pandemic has showed us the income inequality. This pandemic has showed us that communities of color have been marginalized beyond anything we've ever believed. Now, some people may say they want things to come back to normal. I'll tell you, no way, no how, we're not going back to normal, because normal wasn't working for 99% of the population of the state of California. No way do we want to go back to that kind of system. This is an opportunity for us to improve it. And I think the public is with us. If you ask most people, do they deserve quality healthcare? Absolutely, yes. If you ask most people walking down the street, is healthcare a human right? Big thumbs up, everybody's going to say. So people are with us, and we're going to get this done. So thank you, Shawnee, Mike. I know Brandon's on there and a whole mess of other people because I can only see myself. That picture right there was from when we did free community college in the state of California. We heard Senator Sanders talk about it at the national level. Here in the state of California, we did it. 2 years of free community college. We heard Sanders talk very clearly about public banks, but we got it done here in the state of California. Now it's time to get single payer done, and I'll put in my 2+ cents in there for a millionaire's tax. But single payer has got to get done, and we're gonna count on that partnership. So thank you to everybody. We're excited, we're pumped up, and we're looking forward to your leadership to making sure that this gets done. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Assembly Member Santiago. I feel so energized. I feel so warm inside after hearing you speak. I just feel like I got a big hug. So everybody, please tell your representatives to vote yes on AB 1400 by clicking the link in the chat. I believe it was just posted. I just posted it too. So make sure you click that link. And now to talk about some of our calls to action and upcoming calls. Hello, somebody. We have an incredible opportunity to send our very own Nina Turner to Congress this year. Sign up to help Our Revolution Ohio phone bank for Nina. We need Nina in there. And I'm sure probably somebody's posting it in the chat, but if not, I'll do it. There's that. And then also, Our Revolution has joined Stacey Abrams in endorsing Louisiana State Senator Karen Carter Peterson in her race for Congress. Karen's election is on March 20th, and there's going to be a link in the chat also to sign up to volunteer for that. And I'm sure there's that in the chat for you. And then also be sure to join our upcoming calls with progressive leaders like Congressman Jamie Raskin, Ro Khanna, Mondaire Jones, and our own Nina Turner. And you can RSVP on Mobilize. And now we'll probably have one more call to action for the membership drive.
Hey, Shawnee, we have a couple of minutes to go tonight. So so please become a member tonight of Our Revolution. Like I said earlier, $5 or $10 goes a long way in building the financial sustainability of Our Revolution. And for every 100 members we get signed up, we can hire somebody to become an Our Revolution part-time organizer. So let's get some membership tonight. But I think we have a couple extra minutes. I don't know if Assembly Member Santiago is still with us, but I think we have some questions that we can probably spend some time on.
Yeah, we do.
Awesome. So I'm just seeing a couple of questions here, and Jake or Shawnee, if you want to hop in here.
Yeah, I can just jump on.
Okay.
So the first question is actually from Joe Ayala. How will this bill affect unions and union contracts that have negotiated healthcare built into their organizations?
That's a great question. That's one of the first questions that came up, but we decided, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make the tent big. And we're going to attempt to talk to all of our partners to ensure that they get better quality healthcare as opposed to less. But yes, we're engaging with every single one of our partners and everybody across the board.
Cool. And the next one is from Jill Z, and it's a combination of this and from Gordon Miller. It's where will the money come from to set up the structure of CalCare delivery, like the IT infrastructure, staffing, claims processing, and then in general, where will the money come from?
Sure. Well, we have to apply for a federal waiver, and that's part of what has to happen when I talk about the fourth point, which is accessing the funds, and that the ability to apply for a federal waiver allows us to use dollars differently in the state of California. And we argue that there's already the dollars available. We just got to be able to restructure it because the amount of money that we spent on healthcare tells us that the dollars are already there. But key to that is going to be the federal waiver to allow to use those dollars differently.
Cool. Another one is, how can we create a resolution of support to present at our local Dem clubs?
Okay. So if you need help, you can contact my office. because we have some language in terms of resolutions. There's also the language that the county central committees have passed. I think Los Angeles, I think San Francisco. There may be a few others that have already passed it. There are languages that you can language that you can tailor to your local clubs, and we can get that to you for sure. Let me see if you could put it on there. I will take a picture of it. President of Simi Valley Democratic Club. Yeah. Go ahead and reach out to us and we'll make sure we get that to you. But there is language already available.
Cool. We got a question for Amar. Can you say something about the companion bill process in the works you're mentioning? Companion to what?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You mean the additional 2 bills that I mentioned? I'm sorry. Is that what we meant?
Well, it looks like this question might have been to Amar. I'm not sure.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Or maybe it was for you and they got confused. I'm not really sure.
No problem. I'm not often confused with Assemblymember Santiago, but I'll go for it. So here's my understanding is that think about the CalCare bill as we're the architects right now that are building what this system will look like, and you think about the federal, county, state, local pieces that have to come in, and making sure that we protect the negotiated agreements of union. So the financing bill, my understanding, will be separate, but it's hard to create, if you think about build a building, it's hard to create a cost estimate before you have the architect and the plan and everything laid out. So that bill is being worked on, and it'll come alongside after some negotiations. But I'm sure Assemblymember Caller, Assemblymember Santiago can talk to that more specifically. But I think what's just as important is the framing. When people come to you with this question, where's the cost bill? We always need to answer first. We are going to create a system which costs less than the current system, provides more coverage. So the question isn't where's the money coming from? The question is, why are we spending so much money now? And we will get the financing done, but let's be patient because you need to build the structure before you figure out how you're going to cost it.
100%, Amar, 100%.
Well, great. I think that I love a quick Q&A to make up a little bit of time. Appreciate you, Assemblymember, answering those quick fire questions and great responses. Sounds like you've been preparing a little bit. So thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. And a special thanks to our volunteers, our donors, our speakers this evening, our elected officials who took time out of their busy days to come join us to talk about these important measures. And then everyone who signed up to be a sustaining member of our revolution, welcome to the family. We can't do this without you. And before we sign off, we always love to do our chant, which is when I say, when we organize, you all chant, we win. And my dog squeaks on her squeaker toy, apparently. So when I say when we organize, you say,
we win.
We win. There we go.
We win.
When we organize, we win. When we organize, we win. That's right. And we're going to win and we're going to pass CalCare. So thank you, everyone, for joining. It is an absolute pleasure. And I will see you soon.
Yay.
Hey.
Thanks, Brandon.
Good job, everybody. And thank you for thinking with us tonight.